All right, boys, in today's video, we're going to be talking about Obsidian Entertainment and, of course, their upcoming video game, Outer Worlds 2. Now, the last time we heard from Obsidian Entertainment was when they released Avowed, which was the #1 game of the decade, or at least according to the shills that were trying to convince you that the game was a massive success, right? All the posters started with 1 million players engaged, 2 million players engaged, 3 million players engaged, and then like a month or two later, 4 million players engaged. It's the #1 game from Obsidian ever. Well, it looks like they're getting ready to repeat the same exact process with Outer Worlds 2. In today's video, I want to discuss a couple of issues that I have with the upcoming Outer Worlds 2, namely being the fact that the game's price is going to blow your mind considering it's a AA game that's going to give you the same, if not maybe even slightly less or more content than Avowed, but costs $20 more than Avowed ever did. So before we get into that video, guys, special shout out to all of you 89,500 legends out there that are subscribed to the channel right now, and the over 50% of you that are not subscribed. Consider hitting that subscribe button today. I would greatly appreciate it. So I made a post here on Twitter that I want to read to you guys before I go over to the Steam forums, because you guys, wow, the Steam forums is a amazing place to find content, because once the revelation of the pricing came out for Outer Worlds 2, people lost their mind, and I'm going to show you exactly what's going down on Steam. But before we do that, here's my post on X. I said Xbox Showcase wasn't bad at all, which I agree, wasn't bad at all. I thought it was pretty good, to be honest with you. Maybe a solid IGN 7 out of 10, but I genuinely think it was pretty decent. One massive advertisement for essentially, please subscribe to Game Pass, which is basically all anything ever is for an Xbox Showcase at this point. It's like, please subscribe to Game Pass. Everything's an Xbox. Your toaster's an Xbox. Your fridge is an Xbox. We've lost our identity, and we just want you to subscribe to Game Pass. Please, 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 please. We're subsidizing ourselves with Microsoft's massive amount of money. Please subscribe to Game Pass. That's all it ever is. But then I said, I will say, though, there is no planet, there is no universe, and there is no multiverse that Outer Worlds is ever going to be worth an $80 retail price. Avowed should have been $50 at best, and $80 for Outer Worlds? Well, at that point, I was just laughing. No matter, we all know what's going to happen, and I genuinely believe this is going to happen, right? The marketing is always the same for these video games, especially when it comes to Obsidian's video games. It's the same thing. What's going to happen is day one, 1 million players engaged in 24 hours. It beat Outer Worlds 1 by XYZ%. Then day 2, 2 million players engaged in 48 hours. It beat Outer Worlds 1 by XYZ% on day 2. Day 3, 3 million players engaged in 72 hours. It's Obsidian's #1 release ever for the company. And then 1 month later, 4 million players engaged in a month. This is the best release for Obsidian we've ever seen. Then it'll be never heard from again. It's the same formula over and over. And I essentially put out a screenshot showcasing that the standard edition for Outer Worlds 2 is going to be $80, ladies and gentlemen. And yes, I want people to understand that the Outer Worlds is a AA Temu version of Fallout. You mean to tell me that you're going to charge $80 for this video game? $100 from the premium edition? You got to spend 100 smackaroos on the premium edition. Now, of course, I can already hear the Xbox shills from a mile away. What are they saying, boys? Well, if you can't hear them, let me translate. They're saying Big Daddy's giving it to us for free because it's on Game Pass, so just go subscribe to Game Pass. If you're too cheap to spend $80 on a video game, go subscribe to Game Pass, brokey. That's what they're all saying, because clearly that's always the answer. Go to Game Pass, go to Game Pass, go to Game Pass, and you will own nothing and be happy. Clearly, there's a lot of people that are okay with that sentiment, but that's neither here nor there. So, with that being said, now that we know that it's $80 for the standard price and $100 for the premium edition, let's see what the overall community feels about this. And keep in mind, boys, Expedition 33 is $50, right? Oblivion Remastered, Oblivion, which offers way more content than the Outer Worlds could even hope to accomplish, $50, right? But the Outer Worlds, this is what the first game did. Hit a concurrent player count of 20,349. The cheapest this game has ever been was $9.89 on Steam. That is 67% off of its retail price. Keep in mind, Avowed came out after the Outer Worlds, obviously, and this game didn't even hit the concurrent number of the Outer Worlds. Avowed hit 19,198. Now, what I was thinking is that Outer Worlds 2 was going to be the game that was going to perform better than Avowed. I thought that Outer Worlds 2 would be able to at least double their concurrent player count of the first game, right? At least that's what I think. Because here's the thing. When it came to Outer Worlds, they sold a lot of copies very slowly over time. This game has been out for almost 5 years now, and the majority of their sales was when the game was super cheap. You can tell because the game's player base has essentially tanked all throughout, and it really didn't go anywhere, to be honest with you. You can see Humble Bundle, right? And then you can see another Humble Bundle, Spaced Out, and then Spaced Out Encore. And look, I mean, the player base barely rose even with Humble Bundle. So even though people were buying this game, they were buying it very slowly and they were buying it very cheap. The majority of the sales came here right at the beginning for the first couple of months and it completely died off after that and dragged its way to whatever number that is currently at. Now, with all that being said, let's look at the Steam forums where all the goodness comes out. I'm going to show you some of the titles for some of these threads, and then we're going to read some of them together. The literal first thread that I see when I bring up the Steam forums: buy Clear Obscure Expedition 33 instead. I mean, what the? This is seriously where who even asked for a second one of these? $80 base price for this is insane. Reminder, the Obsidian you knew is long gone. Thanks, Obsidian. Poor Microsoft trying to make ends meet. Those $80 better cure cancer. $80 isn't a quad A game, so where is Russian in the quad A game? Why do the body pillow gag if the game doesn't even have romance options? Millennial writers are starving and you guys are laughing. Oh, I gotta read this one. Commie slop. The Outer Worlds 2 or Mario Kart World will buy on sale for like $20 in a few years anyway. I want to be very clear. You're not going to have to wait a few years to buy this game on sale, because if Avowed is any inclination, Avowed's cheapest price is $52.49 at 25% off, and that happened shortly after release, about a couple of months after release. You're not going to have to wait very long in order to get this game on sale on Steam, guaranteed. The only bad part is that since the game has an $80 retail price, 25% off is not going to be anywhere close as good as it was on Avowed. But even then, Avowed wasn't even worth it at 25% off. Avowed should have released at $50. That's what I genuinely believe. I think at $50, it would have put it at a nice price point that people would have been giving it a chance. But here's the amazing thing about all this, right? Microsoft knew that Avowed stood no chance against a game like Oblivion Remastered. This is the reason why they decided to shadow drop Oblivion Remastered, in my opinion, instead of informing people that, hey, this game is coming out. Because can you imagine if they would have told you a year ago that Oblivion Remastered was coming out, and then Obsidian Entertainment decides to announce that Avowed is coming out pretty soon? Do you think people would have bought Avowed? Hell no. If people knew that Oblivion Remastered was coming out, the majority of people probably would have waited for that game instead of spending money on Avowed, the supposed Skyrim killer, right? So, of course, they decided to give it the best opportunity possible since it's all under their wing anyway. Again, some more titles. Price is outrageous. Do you know what the definition of insanity is? This is $100 for Canadians. How about no one buys this? $80? Get the fuck out. Outer Worlds 1 wasn't even worth $60. $80 in Euro? Dream on. $80 for this garbage? $80 is ridiculous? Dude, oh my God. They are getting nuked. They are getting absolutely decimated on these Steam forums, and rightfully so, because nobody on God's green earth genuinely believes that the Outer Worlds is worth $80. The only reason why it's $80 is because they know they're going to get a minimal amount of sales for this game. They know this is not a game that most people are going to buy, at least not at full price anyway. So they're hoping to make the price so outrageous that it's going to force people to make one of two decisions. If they are a content creator of any sort and they want to own the game, then they're going to have to pay the big bucks of $80 in order to own it. But the most realistic scenario is that they know people are not going to pay the price. So they're going to say, well, I'll just subscribe to Game Pass to play it for, I don't know, $15, $20, whatever it is. I'll just go subscribe to Game Pass and pay 1/4 of the price. Boom, get the entire game, get my content made, and move on with my life. That's what they're hoping people do. Or they're just hoping people subscribe to Game Pass in general, even if they're not content creators. Most people know that this shit is not worth $80. It's a AA game at best. So let's read some of these threads and see what people have to say. Expedition 33 obviously is going to get mentioned here. No, buy Neverwinter Nights 2. Expedition must already be bought. You forgot Dungeons and Dragons part. People are saying to buy Expedition 33 over this. Nice joke with the Polish price. Oh, shit. I completely forgot we are the richest country in the Eurozone, or third economy in the world. Jesus, man. These people are absolutely... Who even asked for a second one of these? The first one was a total flop. Why risk it? If it wasn't for Game Pass, the studio would have been gone for good. Will this actually be open world or just small contained areas again? Will there be a lack of weapons like before? Will ship fights be non-existent and just loading screens again? Will missions be generic shoot-em-ups and fetch quests again? Probably the only decent thing the first one offered was the ability to KOS everyone, because everyone sucked and nobody was slightly interesting. If only we could do that in Starfield. Don't forget, Obsidian doesn't know what an open world is. Don't tag it as one. The only decent thing about the first one was that I got the version with all the DLC for free on Epic Store. That's another thing, too. They gave this game away for free multiple times, and Epic Store has done so, I think, at least 2 or 3 times by now, if I remember correctly. I did. It's hard to satisfy console Bethesda like casual. The first game is good enough. Hopefully the second would be better. I like how now it's acceptable to just be good enough, especially when you're being charged retail maximum price. Yeah, I think you should expect a little more than just good enough. This game is going to flop harder than Avowed did. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I think that Obsidian's Outer Worlds has more of a fan base just from nostalgic Fallout fans, too. I think they have more of a fan base than anything Avowed could ever hope to acquire. But the truth be told is that the majority of people that played Avowed, especially on day one, if they weren't a streamer, were probably hardcore Obsidian fans anyway that were looking to play the next Obsidian game. So chances are the Outer Worlds 2 is going to have probably a slightly higher concurrent player count than Outer Worlds 1. But keep in mind, what happened with Avowed is probably going to happen with Outer Worlds, because they were dropping Steam keys for Avowed on Twitter for free for everybody to grab. They were literally giving the game away for free. The amount of review copies that they were giving out to all the shills was insane, and they were all playing it day one, and they only managed to get a little under 20,000 concurrent on Steam. Even with all of that happening, just like Assassin's Creed Shadows dropped a bunch of keys on Twitter randomly for people to acquire. It's insane, man. So at this point, I think it's one of those things where I do believe Outer Worlds is going to do better. I just don't think it's going to be much better. I think this game is pretty cooked, to be honest with you. $80 price for this is insane. Probably more so than $80 for Mario Kart World. And anti-capitalism game charging $80. The stories write themselves. First game was worth $9. Second game is worth at most $20. I've never unwishlisted a game before. There's a first time for everything, I guess. I don't think the game was worth $9. I think these games should be priced at $50. That should be the AA retail standard price for an experience like this. It should be $50. That is literally it. And even at that point, it's still a little bit too expensive, to be honest with you. But still, $50 I think is where Avowed should have been, and I think that's where this game should be. But obviously not, because it's going to be priced at $80. Poor Microsoft trying to make ends meet. I am sure there's enough idiots who will pay that. This idiot will keep its money. And then it says $80 in a AAA game or Quad A game. So where is the Russian in the Quad A game? Are you joking? If for a Quad A $80 game you can't add Russian, so add all of our CIS languages, absolutely cringe. So again, everybody is destroying this game for being $80. This game is $120 AUD. What the hell is going on here? It's insane. So at this point, ladies and gentlemen, we can safely say that doesn't really matter what kind of controversy this game might spin up in the future, depending on whether or not the developers are able to speak like the art director did during Avowed. I think they're going to stay pretty quiet this time around. I'm pretty sure there's been a rule that's been placed over at the studio to shut the hell up before the game's release, but it doesn't matter. You are charging $80 for a AA experience at best, and you have other developers charging $50 for 4 times the amount of content your game's going to offer with 4 times the amount of quality, because we all know Obsidian sure loves to sell that jank. They don't believe in making a game without jank. So you mean to tell me you're going to charge quality experience money for a janky video game with half the amount of content other $50 video games are offering? Yeah, I think it's safe to say these guys are cooked. So let me know in the comments down below. What do you guys think? Do you think the Outer Worlds 2 is going to be successful? Do you think it's going to do better than the first one? Do you think it's going to do better than Avowed, which, to be fair, that's not really saying much? Or do you think the game is cooked? Do you think that $80 for this experience is an absolute travesty and it's just a sign of the things to come in the gaming industry? Let me know in the comments down below. Special shout out to all of the Bigot Army members who decided to hit that join button. Thank you guys so much for taking the extra step. And if you are not a member of this channel, consider hitting that join button today. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.